Yeah, hey everyone, this is Dwayne with Dwayne's Diagnostics again, and I'm at home again, actually playing around with this module again and practicing and learning some stuff. And I thought I had a good idea for a video to kind of show you some of the stuff I figured out and stuff that maybe someone out there that doesn't know about this kind of stuff might be able to learn something from this, or maybe find it somewhat interesting. But what I was gonna do is I have these three codes here in this module: a P0118, P0232, and the P1000 for engine coolant temperature, sensor circuit high input, and fuel pump secondary circuit high. And those are actually very similar codes, just on different circuits. But I was gonna try to show to you, if I can, and try to explain to you, for anyone that doesn't know, what those codes actually mean, and kind of try to show it on the scan tool, and show it on the meter, and show it in the service information. And I'm not sure if I'll get in everything I remembered or wanted to put in. I forget a lot of stuff, and I try to keep these videos a little bit shorter, but I'll try to get in what I plan to. But basically, why this that coolant sensor code is set is actually right here, because of this 4.89 volts right here that's showing on my meter. And I'm actually going to erase this code, and I'm gonna go into the live data, and try to explain to you here and show to you why that code is setting. So I just have these three PIDs pulled up, and you can see cylinder head temperature 2, the volts is at 5 volts, 4.995 volts. The temperature is at -40, and it's saying yes, there's a fault. And that's basically because this coolant sensor, there is no coolant sensor plugged into this PCM. I do have a sensor here, right here, but it's not plugged in. And I actually have the service info pulled up for that code right here: P0118, cylinder head temperature sensor circuit high voltage. And it tells you possible causes: sensor return circuit is open, blah 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 blah. It's usually an open circuit on a code that refers to high input or high voltage. It's usually an open circuit. I don't know if that's true like on all codes like that, but usually if it's a high circuit code, then a lot of times you have an open ground, or you have some kind of bad ground or some kind of open in the circuit. Or if it's a low circuit voltage code, a lot of times you have a short. But there can be other causes. But in the service info here, it says that key on or engine running, the PCM detected the cylinder head temperature sensor signal or engine coolant temperature sensor signal was more than 4.6 volts. And then it says it's a thermistor type sensor with variable resistance. It changes when exposed to different temperatures. So basically it's going to set that code when it sees more than 4.6 volts, which it's seeing right here. And I'm actually measuring the same voltage on my voltmeter. It just shows a little bit different voltage. But I can show you that once I hook this sensor up, this is actually only a 2-wire sensor. So there's actually only 2 wires that I need to hook up to that are right here. This is what they call the 5-volt reference. So that's where this 4.89 volts is coming from, and that's where this 5 volts is coming from on the scan tool. But it's actually not hooked up to the sensor completely. I don't have that 5-volt reference hooked up. So that's why it's showing that minus 40 on the scan tool. But if I hook this other end up here, you can see the voltmeter goes to 1.92 and the scan tool goes to 1.94, and now it's showing 116 degrees and no fault. So that's because now the voltage is within the range that the computer is set to see it at as normal. So I can actually show you also what would set a low circuit code. And if I take this same 5-volt reference wire and I short it to ground, it's going to bring that voltage down. .01, 0 on the scan tool, and now the temperature is up to 212, and it says yes fault. So I just took it off, so it went back to negative 40 again. But that's basically why the computer is setting that high input, because it's seeing that 5 volts, and according to that code setting conditions, if it sees anything more than 4.6 volts, then it sets that high code. And I can pull it up here too. The other code for a low circuit would be a P0117 that I have right here. And you can see P0117 cylinder head temperature sensor circuit low voltage, which I said is usually going to be a short. And it basically says the same thing, but kind of in the reverse, and says it'll set that code with the engine key on or engine running if the sensor signal was less than 0.20 volts or 200 millivolts, which when I take that 5-volt reference and short it to ground, a good ground, then it's less than 0.20. So that's basically why, kind of the logic behind why the computer is setting that one code, because it wasn't actually hooked up to a coolant sensor until I rigged up this one that I have. And I can actually show you I'll just put this 5-volt reference wire on ground, hook it up to my ground over here on the breakout box. I guess I can't do that. Well, I guess I will. And I'll go back out, read the codes again, and now we should have that P0117 low circuit code and not the P0118. And this takes quite a few seconds to read the codes. Yeah, there we go. Now it's got the P0117 low input. So, for anyone out there that doesn't know about those codes, hopefully that gives you some kind of understanding. But I'm going to pause this and I'll come back and show you some other stuff that I figured out. So this was one thing I was going to show is I got my voltmeter hooked up to this breakout box, and it's showing about 12 volts. It took to 12 volts right here, basically, and ground right here. But if I take this ground off and I hook it up to that 5-volt reference on that coolant sensor circuit, there's actually 7 volts there on the voltmeter, because that's actually measuring from this 12 volts, which would basically be the battery positive terminal, and going through the positive, it's basically measuring the difference from positive to positive. And so 12 volts is getting fed into the computer, but it's using a 5-volt regulator and whatever circuits it uses to reduce the voltage on that circuit down to 5 volts. But this 7 volts is just showing what the difference is between what would be battery positive basically on a real live vehicle. But I just wanted to show that just for curiosity's sake, I guess, or just because I figured it out. But I can show you also if I hook my voltmeter back up to ground here, and I've actually got my my test light here hooked up to this battery positive wire, and I can show you it'll light up. It lights up. Lights up nice and bright. So it's pulling about 170 milliamps. But I can show you something kind of interesting to me is let me hook up this 5-volt reference again and hook up my positive lead again. So now we got 1.91 volts because I actually have the sensor hooked up now. This is the ground for it, or signal return, and this is the 5-volt reference, and it's going through the sensor, and that's where we're getting this 1.91 volts, which is pretty close to what the scan tool's showing, 1.94, and 116 degrees and no fault. But this was something I found interesting. Other guys might know about this or have done this before. But this is another thing it talked about for that P0118 code is that sensor signal circuit is open or shorted to voltage, which I was a little leery about trying this at first, but I figured I'd just go ahead and do it. But yeah, I didn't show you but there is 12 volts here. I'm on the test light here. There is 12 volts. I don't think I showed that before. So now I hooked it back up to that 5-volt reference, and now we're back to 1.91. But so we got 12 volts here, and this thing was pulling amps when I hooked it up to the ground here. So in theory, if I touch this 5-volt reference, it should feed it about 12 volts. I'll show you this on the voltmeter. I'll touch it here. 11.89 volts. But the light is not lighting up at all. But it's only reading 5 volts on the scan tool. And it's back to -40 like it was unplugged. If I take the test light off, goes back to that 1.9 volts. No fault. I'll put the test light back on it. 5 volts and -40. But you can see 11.9 on the voltmeter. Take it off. Back to normal. Back to normal. So that's just something I thought was interesting. And you can see that what I figured out from that is that this circuit is like totally protected. It's not letting no current from this test light flow through that circuit because the light's not lighting up at all. So it is like totally protected. And it's, you know, I'm putting 12 volts into that 5-volt circuit, and it doesn't seem to hurt it in any way. And it did say, you know, on the service info that could be one of the causes of that code if it's shorted to voltage. And I short it, and it does say yes fault. So if I left it like that and went back out and pulled the codes, it's gonna have that P0118 high input code again. But yeah, that's just interesting stuff to me. And some of the stuff I figured out. I'm not sure what else I can show you on this, but this video is getting long, so I'm probably just going to cut it off here. And I'll be making more videos on this. I was going to make some videos on that fuel pump code, actually. That was a kind of interesting one to me also. But hopefully someone out there might have learned something from this. There's actually easier ways to diagnose that those coolant sensor codes. You can, you know, I don't know if you can do it on all vehicles, but you know, you can just short the 5-volt reference to the signal return, and I'm not sure you can do that on all vehicles, but I have seen that done before. And that is basically what I'm doing. Basically what I'm doing when I short it to ground. That's the same thing, because that's all that signal return is basically a ground. But yeah, it's not one of the hardest codes to diagnose, but I figured I'd just do this video on it and show you some of the stuff I found, and hopefully maybe someone out there learned something from this, or found it somehow interesting or entertaining. But yeah, that's all I got for this one, and I will talk to you on the next one. I figured I'd just throw this in. But I'm going to read the codes here and show you there should be no coolant sensor codes, because I have it still hooked up to that sensor right here. Still reading 1.9 volts. I don't know, there might be a code because I don't think I erased those last ones actually. Yeah, that P0117. So let me erase that. Okay, here we go again. Gonna read the codes. Yeah, no more coolant sensor codes. But I just figured I'd throw that in.